Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm a senior software engineer in the IA content team. And today I'm going to walk you through opening a PR and running the acceptance test with our new GitHub Actions Cloud CI support. I just forked the motd Puppet Labs module to an account that is not part of the Puppet Labs organization. And I'm going to make a small change. We'll open a PR and see what's going to happen. So let me just change the README file here. For example, a small change. So now that I committed my changes to the repository, I can open a pull request. So I'm just going to click on pull request. And now I'm going to open the pull request towards the Puppet Labs motd main branch. So once the pull request has been opened, you will see that I'm taken to the Puppet Labs namespace and the checks are being started up. Let's take a look at the GitHub Actions check. So as you can see, this check starts off on each open pull request. And the initial job is to set up the test matrix. This test matrix is being generated from the metadata of the module itself. So once test matrix is done, this will kick off a series of acceptance tests against all the OSs in the metadata. These warnings are related only to the fact that these images are not currently known by the matrix setup. So on the left side, now we'll see all these acceptance tests started popping up. For each operating system in the metadata, 3 acceptance tests are run, 1 for each Puppet version. So let's take a look at the first one. So this is, as you can see, the Puppet 5 version, the Puppet 6 version, and lastly, the Puppet 7 nightly test. So one of the most important things that's happening here is the provisioning step. This step basically is an invocation of the provision task, provision service task. Let me explain the workflow in a simple diagram. So as you can see in this diagram, everything starts from the GitHub repository itself. GitHub Actions are enabled on each of our supported repositories. Whenever there is a pull request or whenever there's a workflow dispatch event, we have a particular workflow that gets triggered. And each workflow uses the Puppet Litmus to connect to the Cloud CI provisioning service through the provision service task and obtain the necessary VMs to be able to run the acceptance test. So each of our GitHub repositories on the Puppet Labs namespace has GitHub Actions enabled. And in each of the repositories, there are a set of workflows. The most notable ones are the ones that trigger on pull request events and on workflow dispatch event. So let's move back to the workflow here. So we can see we currently have a couple of items in this matrix that have already passed the test. Let me jump into one of them so we can take a look at the logs and see what's been happening here. So I'm going to step into the provisioning of the test environment. As you can see, the provisioning task is invoked using litmus provision, name of the provision task, and the image. This will return an inventory file. The inventory file can be seen in the logs with the public IP of the machine and a couple of facts. The most important one to note is the platform itself. Once the inventory file is received, we have the install agent step. In this case, we use a retry mechanism here to install the version we desire. This happens because the cloud VMs finish their configuration after the initial spin up. Therefore, a retry loop to wait until the machine is available was used in this workflow. So once this is set up, then we install the Puppet module. In the same fashion, we use the retry mechanism if needed. Then we run the acceptance test. As you can see, it was successful on Red Hat 7. And at the end of each of these steps, we remove the test environment. Use Litmus rake task that's called teardown. The nice part about the setup is also that in the simple view of the pull request, if you scroll down towards the checks, you will see the acceptance test for each of these OSs. So now we'll fast forward a bit until all the acceptance tests are done. Okay, so now after 14 minutes with our currently unoptimized setup, we finally have the full results of the acceptance tests on 3 different Puppet versions across 8 operating systems. So there we have it. Uh, Travis is still running on this PR, but I just wanted to thank everyone for their attention. Please look forward to future rollouts of this workflow. Thank you very much. Bye.